The warning lights flashed red across the research station as Dr. Zafara worked late in her lab. Her 6 arms moved quickly between different machines, checking data from deep space. The Veltar station was the best science facility in this part of the galaxy, floating safely near the gas giant Nexus Prime. Zafara was an arachnoid, which meant she looked like a giant spider with green skin and golden eyes. She was one of the smartest scientists on the station. Tonight, she was doing her usual job of listening to radio signals from space, looking for new discoveries. The other crew members on the station came from many different planets. There were mollusks who looked like walking squids, crystalline, beings made of living rock, and small furry creatures called felins who were very good with computers. They all worked together to study life in the galaxy. Suddenly, a strange beeping sound came from her equipment. Zafara stopped what she was doing. This was not a normal signal. It was coming from very far away, from a part of space that no one ever visited. She put on her headphones and listened carefully. What she heard made her hearts beat faster. The signal was speaking in a language that most people thought was dead, but worse than that. It was coming from a place called Sol-3. Sol-3 was Earth, the home planet of humans. Everyone in the galaxy had heard stories about humans, but most people thought they were just scary tales told to children. Humans were supposed to come from a death world, a planet so dangerous that it killed almost everything that lived there. The stories said humans were monsters who could survive anything and fight anyone. Most smart people believed humans were extinct. A few others thought they might still exist somewhere in the dark parts of space, but nobody wanted to meet them. Zafara played the message again. The voice was clear and calm, speaking in perfect universal trade language. "This is Commander Sarah Chun of the U.S. Defiant. Our colony ship has broken down badly. We have 50,000 people stuck on asteroid mining platform Delta 7. Our life support systems are failing. We need help right away. We will pay anyone who saves us very well." The message repeated every few minutes. Zafara checked her equipment 3 times to make sure it was real. The mathematical codes in the transmission were too complex to fake. This was really coming from humans. She had to tell the station director right away. Zafara found Director Kethel in his office. Kethel was a mollusk, which meant he looked like a large purple octopus who could walk on land. He was very careful about making decisions and never took risks if he could help it. "Director," Zafara said, trying to keep her voice steady, "I have received a transmission that you need to hear." Kethel looked up from his work. His big yellow eyes focused on her with interest. "What kind of transmission?" "It is from humans, sir. They are asking for rescue." The director's tentacles went very still. "That is impossible. Play it for me." Zafara played the recording. As Commander Chun's voice filled the room, Kethel's skin turned from purple to white, which meant he was scared. "This must be fake," he said when the message finished. "Humans are extinct, or they never existed at all. Sir, I have checked the signal many times. The quantum encryption is real. Only humans could make this kind of code. The stories say they are the best at mathematics and computers." Kethel was quiet for a long time. He was thinking about what this meant. If humans really existed, this could be the greatest discovery in galactic history. Scientists everywhere would want to study them. The research station would become famous. But the stories also said humans were very dangerous. "How much are they offering to pay?" Kethel asked. Zafara checked her notes. "They say they will compensate salvage crews generously. That usually means a lot of money." The director thought some more. The station needed money for new equipment. Their funding from the Galactic Science Council was getting smaller every year. "Send a message back," he decided. "Tell them we will help. Ask for the coordinates." "Sir, are you sure?" "The other crew members will not like this. Everyone is afraid of humans. "We are scientists," Keffel said firmly. "We study life, even dangerous life. And if they pay us well, we can do research for many years without worrying about money." Zephyra went back to her lab and sent the reply. Within an hour, they received coordinates for a location in the Void Reach, a dangerous part of space, where 3 big military powers had been fighting for years. She posted the news on the station's internal network. Within minutes, her communication system was flooded with messages from other crew members. The crystalline engineer said the station's weapons were not strong enough to fight humans if they turned hostile. The feline computer specialist said human technology was too advanced and might take over their systems. The mollusk medical officer said humans carried diseases that could kill other species, but Director Keffel had made his decision. He announced that the station would change course for the Void Reach. They would attempt to rescue the humans and collect the reward dot as the station turned toward the new coordinates. Zephyra sat in her lab looking at the star charts. The Void Reach was 3 days away at maximum speed. She wondered what they would find when they got there. The stories about humans were probably exaggerated. How dangerous could one species really be? They were asking for help after all. That meant they needed other people to survive, just like everyone else. But as she studied the signal more carefully, she noticed something strange. The transmission was very powerful, much stronger than it needed to be for a simple distress call. It was almost like the humans wanted to make sure everyone in this part of the galaxy could hear a dot that seemed odd for people who were supposed to be dying on a broken mining platform. ZEPH era decided not to worry about it. In 3 days, she would see humans for the first time in her life. Whatever happened next, it would definitely be interesting. She had no idea that their simple rescue mission was about to change everything in the galaxy. The Veltar Research Station moved through space toward the Void Reach. 3 days had passed since they received the human distress signal. The crew was nervous, but Director Keffel kept telling everyone they were doing the right thing. Dr. Zephyra spent most of her time studying the human transmission. She played it over and over, trying to learn everything she could about these mysterious beings. The more she listened, the more questions she had. Meanwhile, very far away, something dangerous was happening. Admiral Krexeth sat in his command chair on the bridge of his warship. He was a member of the Hegemony of Scales, a powerful military empire ruled by reptile-like creatures. Krexeth looked like a giant lizard with sharp teeth and red eyes that glowed in the dark. The Hegemony had been listening to radio signals across the galaxy for many years. They wanted to know what other species were doing so they could plan attacks or make alliances. When they heard the transmission between the research station and the humans, Admiral Krexeth became very excited. "Humans," he said to his officers. "Finally, we have found them." The Hegemony had been looking for humans for a long time. Not because they wanted to trade or make friends, but because they saw humans as a threat. The old stories said humans were too dangerous to be allowed to live freely in the galaxy. Krexeth called together his war fleet. He had 200 ships, all armed with the best weapons the Hegemony could build. His plan was simple: fly to the coordinates, destroy the humans before they could escape, and capture the research station to study human technology. "We will end the human threat once and for all," he told his captains, "and we will learn their secrets." The Hegemony fleet jumped into hyperspace, racing toward the same coordinates where the Veltar station was going. Back on the research station, strange things were starting to happen. Zephyra was working in her lab when her computer screen started flickering. At first, she thought it was just a normal malfunction, but then she noticed that the flickering had a pattern. It looked almost like code. She called the feline computer specialist, a small furry creature named Whiskers. Whiskers was the best at understanding computer systems on the station. "My screen is acting weird," Zephyra told him. "Can you check what is wrong?" Whiskers looked at the computer with his large green eyes. His whiskers twitched as he concentrated. After a few minutes, he made a worried chirping sound. "This is not a malfunction," he said. "Something is changing your computer from the inside." "It started happening right after we received that human message." "What do you mean?" Zephyra asked. "The human transmission had hidden code in it. The code is now spreading through our computer network. It is changing how our systems work." Zephyra felt scared. "Is it trying to take control of our station?" Whiskers shook his head. "No, it is not attacking us. It is more like it is trying to help. The code is making our systems work better with human technology. But it is doing this without asking us first." This news frightened the crew even more. The idea that human technology could change their computers just by sending a message was terrifying. It meant humans were much more advanced than anyone had imagined. Dr. Zephyra reported this to Director Kethel. The director's tentacles curled up with worry. "Can we stop the changes?" he asked Whiskers. "I do not think so," the feline replied. "The code is too smart. Every time I try to remove part of it, it adapts and becomes stronger." As the station got closer to the void reach, more problems began. The life support system started working differently. The lights became brighter. Even the artificial gravity felt strange. But the scariest part was that all these changes seemed to be making the station run better, not worse. It was like the human code knew how to improve alien technology better than the aliens themselves. On the second day of their journey, the station's long-range sensors detected something that made everyone panic. "Director," called the sensor operator, a crystalline being whose body was made of living rock. "I am detecting a large fleet moving toward the same coordinates we are going to." Kethel rushed to the sensor station. "How large?" "Over 200 ships." "Sir, the energy signatures match hegemony war vessels." The director's skin turned completely white. The hegemony of Scales was known for destroying first and asking questions later. If they were going to the same place, it meant they had also heard the human transmission. "They are planning to attack the humans," Zephyra said, "and probably us too." Kethel made a quick decision. "Send a message to the humans. Warn them that hostile forces are coming." Zephyra sent the warning, but she got a reply that confused her. "Thank you for the information," came the response from Commander Chun. "We are aware of the approaching threat. Continue to the coordinates as planned." "Aware?" Zephyra said to herself. How could they be aware? As they got closer to their destination, the station's sensors began picking up more detailed information. What they found did not match what they expected. The coordinates led to an asteroid field, just like the humans had said. But the energy readings from the area were enormous. The mining platform was giving off power signatures that were bigger than most space cities. Even stranger, the sensors detected multiple ships hiding in the asteroid field. These ships were using some kind of advanced stealth technology that made them almost invisible. "Director," Zephyra said slowly, "I do not think this is a simple rescue mission." Before Kethel could reply, alarms started ringing throughout the station. The threat detection system had found something terrifying. "Multiple weapon locks detected," shouted the sensor operator. "We are being targeted." On the main screen, they could see both the hegemony fleet and several mysterious contacts near the asteroid field. Everyone was pointing weapons at everyone else. Then a new message came through from Commander Chun. Her voice was different now. It was cold and hard, like metal. "Veltar Station, this is your only warning. Cut your engines and prepare to be boarded. You have led hostile forces directly to our position. The safety of my people now takes priority over our previous agreement." Dr. Zephyra realized with growing horror that they had made a terrible mistake. The humans had not been asking for rescue. They had been setting a trap. And the research station had just helped them catch the biggest military fleet in this part of the galaxy. The crew looked at each other with fear. They were trapped between the HFY war fleet and whatever the humans really were. Either side could destroy their small research station without even trying. "What have we done?" whispered Director Keffel. Outside the station, space began to shimmer as more hidden ships revealed themselves. The rescue mission had become something much more dangerous, and there was no way to escape. The space around the Veltar research station suddenly changed. What had looked like empty space began to ripple like water. Then, piece by piece, a massive ship appeared right in front of them. The ship was huge, bigger than any vessel the research station crew had ever seen. But its size was not the most frightening thing about it. The ship looked like it was designed to hunt and kill. Its black hull was covered with strange patterns that seemed to move in the light. Weapons stuck out from every surface like the teeth of some giant space monster. "By the void," whispered Director Keffel. "What is that thing?" Dr. Zephyra checked her instruments with shaking hands. "The computer says it is called the UES Defiant, but this is not a colony ship. This is a warship." On the main screen, they could see smaller ships detaching from the big vessel. These ships were coming straight toward their station. "Incoming transmission," announced Whiskers from his computer station. Commander Chun's voice filled the bridge. But now it sounded completely different. Before, she had seemed desperate and weak. Now she sounded like a predator giving orders. "Veltar Station, you will lower your shields and prepare for boarding. Do not resist. My Marines are coming aboard to secure your vessel." "Marines?" Keffel said in a panic. "We are a research station. We have no weapons." "That is exactly why you will cooperate," Chun replied coldly. The research station had no choice. They turned off their shields and waited. Within minutes, they heard strange sounds from the docking bay. Metal was cutting through metal. The humans were forcing their way inside. Dr. Zephyr had read every story about humans that existed in the galactic databases. But nothing had prepared her for seeing them in person. The first human to enter the bridge was tall and moved like flowing water. Its body was covered in some kind of armor that seemed to be alive. The armor changed color as the human walked, matching the lights and shadows around it. On its face was a clear mask that glowed with information displays. Behind the first human came 5 more. They spread out across the bridge in a pattern that seemed random but felt dangerous. Each human carried weapons that Zephyra did not recognize. But they looked very deadly. The lead human removed its mask, revealing a face that was both beautiful and terrifying. The skin was pale, the eyes were bright blue, and the expression was completely calm. This had to be Commander Chun. "I am Commander Sarah Chun of the United Earth Forces," she said. Her voice was steady and controlled. "You are now under military protection." Director Keffel tried to speak, but only strange squeaking sounds came out. He was too frightened to form words. Dr. Zephyr forced herself to be brave. "Commander, we came here to rescue you. Why are you treating us like prisoners?" Chun looked at her with those cold blue eyes. "Dr. Zephyr, I assume. Your species files indicate you are a scientist. Use your intelligence. Does this look like a rescue situation to you?" Zephyra looked around the bridge. The human Marines had positioned themselves so they could see everything and shoot anything that moved. Their weapons were pointed down, but they could be raised in less than a second. "You lied to us," she said. "You are not stranded. You are not in danger." "Correct," Chun said. "We sent that transmission as bait. The hegemony of Scales has been hunting human settlements for months. We needed to draw them into a trap. Your response helped us locate their monitoring stations. But you said you had 50,000 civilians." Chen smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. "We do have 50,000 people on the mining platform. But they are not helpless civilians. They are military personnel and their families, veterans of our expansion wars." One of the bridge displays lit up with new information. The sensor operator, his rock body glowing with fear, reported what he was seeing. "Director, the hegemony fleet has arrived. 200 ships, all armed for battle. They are demanding our surrender." On the main screen, they could see the reptilian war fleet. The ships were arranged in attack formation, ready to destroy anything that threatened them. Admiral Krexov's voice boomed through the communication system. "Attention, human vessel and research station. You are surrounded. Power down your weapons and prepare to be destroyed. You have 1 standard hour to comply." Commander Chun walked over to the communication station. She pushed a button and spoke in that same calm voice. "Admiral Krexov, I believe you have made a serious error in judgment." "Human scum," the admiral replied. "You think your one ship can fight my entire fleet? You are outnumbered 200 to 1. "Admiral," Chun said, and now there was something like amusement in her voice. "You have made 2 critical mistakes. First, you assumed we were trapped here with you." She paused and looked directly at the screen where the admiral's face was visible. "Second, you brought a fleet to a Deathworlder fight." Chun made a gesture with her hand. Suddenly, the space around the asteroid field began to change. Ships appeared everywhere, rising out of hiding places that should not have been possible. They came from behind asteroids, from inside the gas clouds, and from what looked like empty space itself. Dr. Zafara counted quickly. "There are at least 50 human ships out there," she said in amazement. 63, actually," Chun corrected. "And that is just the ones you can see now." The human ships did not look like normal space vessels. They were dark and sleek, shaped like the predatory fish that lived in Earth's oceans. Their hulls seemed to bend light around them, making them hard to focus on. But the most frightening thing was how they moved. Normal ships flew in straight lines and gentle curves. These human vessels moved like living creatures, darting and weaving through space with impossible grace. "How?" whispered Kethel, finally finding his voice. "How did you hide so many ships?" Chun looked at him with something that might have been pity. "Director, your species thinks of space as empty. We learned to think of it as full of hiding places. Every shadow, every gravity well, every particle of cosmic dust can hide a ship if you know how to use it." The Admiral's voice came through the speakers again, but now it sounded less confident. "This changes nothing. We still outnumber you." "Admiral," Chun replied, "you are operating under a fundamental misunderstanding about how humans fight. We did not come here to have a fair battle. We came here to solve a problem." She turned to look at the research station crew. "The problem is simple. The hegemony has been attacking human colonies. They think we are weak because we live in the dark spaces between your civilized worlds. Today, we teach them why that assumption is wrong." Dr. Zafara realized something that made her hearts beat even faster. "You planned all of this. The distress call, leading us here, letting the hegemony follow us. This whole thing was a trap." "Yes," Chun said simply. "But not just for the hegemony. It is also a message to the galaxy. Humans are back, and we are not the helpless refugees that the stories make us out to be." Outside, the first shots of the battle were being fired. The war between predators and prey was about to begin. The battle began with a sound that Dr. Zafara had never heard before. It was not the clean energy blasts that most civilized species used in space combat. Instead, it was a deep, rumbling noise that seemed to shake the very fabric of space itself. "What is that sound?" she asked Commander Chun. "Kinetic weapons," Chun replied calmly. "We fire pieces of metal at very high speeds. Your species use energy beams that can be blocked by shields. Our projectiles go through shields like they are not even there." On the main screen, they watched the human ships attack the hegemony fleet. But this was not like any space battle that had ever been recorded in galactic history. The hegemony ships fired their weapons in neat, organized patterns. They followed the standard rules of space combat, that all civilized species had agreed on thousands of years ago. They maintained proper formation, targeted military systems first, and gave their enemies chances to surrender. The human ships fought like wild animals. They appeared and disappeared without warning, striking from impossible angles. One moment, a human ship would be in front of a hegemony vessel. The next moment, it would be behind it, firing weapons into its engines. They seemed to ignore the basic laws of physics that govern space travel. "How are they moving like that?" asked Whiskers, his fur standing on end with fear. "Dimensional fold drives," Chun explained. "We can step partially out of normal space, move to a new position, and step back in. It makes us very hard to hit." "Admiral." Krexith's voice crackled over the communication system. "This is impossible. No one can move ships that way." "Admiral," Chun replied, "you are thinking about this wrong. You treat space combat like a game with rules. We treat it like survival." As the battle continued, Dr. Zephyra began to understand what Chun meant. The hegemony was fighting to win according to the accepted standards of warfare. The humans were fighting to completely destroy their enemies as efficiently as possible. A hegemony cruiser tried to ram one of the human ships. Instead of dodging, the human vessel did something that made Zephyra's brain hurt to watch. The ship seemed to fold in half, let the cruiser pass through the empty space where it had been, then unfold and fire at the cruiser's back. "That should not be possible," whispered the crystalline sensor operator. "On our home world," Chen said, "the weather changes fast enough to kill you. Earthquakes can swallow cities in seconds. Volcanoes can turn day into night. We learn to adapt quickly or die. This is just adaptation." The research station crew watched in fascination and horror as human battle tactics unfolded. The humans did not just fight with superior technology. They fought with a kind of thinking that was completely alien to other species. When 3 hegemony ships surrounded one human vessel, instead of trying to escape, the human ship sent a signal to its allies. Within seconds, 15 human ships appeared around the 3 hegemony vessels. The trap had become a counter-trap. "We call it pack hunting," Chun explained. One human draws the enemy into position, then the rest of the pack destroys them. But the most terrifying thing was how calmly the humans fought. There was no anger, no excitement, no fear in their communications. They discussed the destruction of enemy ships the way other species might discuss the weather. "Target acquired, firing solution optimal. Elimination in 3 seconds, came a voice from one of the human ships. "Confirmed kill, moving to next target," came another. "Enemy attempting to flee, intercepting and destroying," said a third. Dr. Zephyra realized that to humans, this was not a glorious battle or a test of honor. It was simply a problem that needed to be solved with the most efficient methods available. "Admiral." Krexith, seeing his fleet being destroyed piece by piece, made a desperate decision. He turned his remaining ships toward the Veltar research station. "Human Commander," he broadcast, "I know your species values the lives of innocents. Surrender now, or I will destroy this research vessel and everyone on it." Commander Chun was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was colder than the vacuum of space. "Admiral, you have made another error in judgment. You assume we came here to rescue our people. We did not. We came here to send a message. The safety of one research station does not change that objective." Dr. Zephyra felt her heart stop. The humans were going to let them die to win their battle. But then she noticed something. Whiskers was looking at his computer screen with a confused expression. "What is it?" she asked. "The human ships," he said slowly. "They are moving into new positions, but not to attack the hegemony fleet. They are surrounding us." On the main screen, they could see human vessels moving with incredible speed toward the research station. But they were not pointing their weapons at the hegemony ships. They were positioning themselves between the research station and Admiral Krexith's fleet. I do not understand, Zephyra said to Commander Chun. You said you would not sacrifice your mission to save us. Chun smiled, and for the first time, it was a real smile. Dr. Zephyra, you assumed that saving you would require sacrificing. Our mission, that is not how humans solve problems. Suddenly, space around the research station began to bend and twist. The human ships were doing something with their gravity manipulation technology that was beyond anything the galactic community had ever seen. We do not choose between saving innocents and completing our objectives, Chun continued. We find ways to do both. The gravity field created by the human ships caught the energy blasts from the hegemony weapons and bent them back toward their own fleet. Admiral Krexov's attack on the research station became an attack on his own ships. Impossible, screamed the Admiral. You cannot manipulate gravity on that scale. Admiral, Chun replied, you keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. The remaining hegemony ships found themselves trapped in an artificial gravity well. They could not move, could not escape, and could not effectively fight back. They were easy targets for the human precision weapons. This is not war, said one of the hegemony captains over the radio. This is slaughter. No, Chun corrected. This is mathematics. We calculated the optimal solution to remove a threat while minimizing innocent casualties. The equations worked out in our favor. Within an hour, the entire hegemony fleet was either destroyed or disabled. The few surviving ships were sending surrender signals, but Commander Chun was not finished. Admiral Krexov, she broadcast to the galaxy on all frequencies. You came here to destroy human settlements because you thought we were weak. You have learned otherwise. This message is now being transmitted to every world in the galaxy. She paused to let her words sink in. Humanity has returned to galactic awareness. We did not ask to be your monsters in the dark. We were content to build our lives in the spaces you could not survive. But you made the choice to hunt us. The transmission continued on all channels, reaching every major civilization in the galaxy. Now you live with the consequences. We are humanity. We survived. Our home world. We will survive you. And if you threaten our people again, we will come for you with mathematics, physics, and the patience of a species that learned to fight a planet and win. Dr. Zephyra looked around the bridge of her research station. Everything had changed. In just a few hours, the galaxy's understanding of humans, of warfare, of what was possible, had been completely rewritten, and somehow she knew this was just the beginning. 3 weeks after the battle, Dr. Zephyra sat in her lab on the Veltar research station. But everything was different now. The station was no longer floating near Nexus Prime. Instead, it was docked at a human space facility called Haven Station. Haven Station was unlike anything in the galactic databases. It was built inside a hollowed-out asteroid, but the technology inside was more advanced than the greatest cities of the core worlds. The corridors were filled with humans going about their daily lives, and Zephyra was amazed at how normal they seemed when they were not fighting. Human children played in the corridors, laughing and running just like the young of any other species. Human adults worked at computers, grew food in gardens, and talked quietly in groups. They looked so ordinary that it was hard to believe these were the same beings who had destroyed an entire war fleet. But Zephyra had learned not to trust appearances. When it came to humans, Commander Chun had kept her promise. The research station crew was safe and had been treated well. But they were also being studied just as much as they were studying the humans. Dr. Zephyra, came a voice behind her. She turned to see Commander Chun entering the lab. Over the past weeks, Chun had become less frightening and more like a teacher, answering questions about human society and technology. Commander, Zephyra replied, I have been thinking about something you said during the battle. What is that? You said humans treat warfare like mathematics. But you also saved us when you did not have to. How do both things fit together? Chun sat down in a chair that had been specially made for human physiology. That is a good question. The answer is that humans learned a long time ago that pure logic without compassion leads to becoming monsters. And pure compassion without logic leads to becoming victims. She pointed to a display screen that showed images from the battle. We destroyed the hegemony fleet because mathematics told us it was the most efficient way to protect human settlements. But we saved your research station because our values told us it was the right thing to do. But how did you do both? Zephyra asked. Every other species would have had to choose. Because humans learn to think in ways that other species do not, Chun explained. On Earth, we faced problems that had no good solutions. So we learned to create new solutions that seemed impossible. Over the past weeks, Zephyra had been sending reports back to the Galactic Science Council. Each report had caused more excitement and panic than the last. The galaxy was struggling to understand what the return of humanity meant. Some species wanted to make trade agreements with the humans immediately. Others wanted to declare war and try to destroy them before they became too powerful. A few species were so frightened that they had closed their borders entirely and refused to communicate with anyone. But the most interesting responses came from smaller, weaker species that had been bullied by larger empires for centuries. They were sending secret messages to human settlements, asking for protection. Commander, Zephyra said, my government wants to know what humans want from the galaxy. Are you planning to conquer us? To trade with us? To leave us alone? Chun was quiet for a moment, thinking about her answer. Dr. Zephyra, humans want the same thing we have always wanted. We want to survive, to grow, to learn, and to protect our families. We do not want to rule other species. We just want them to leave us alone. But what if they do not leave you alone? Then we will defend ourselves, Chun said simply. And we will make sure that attacking humans becomes too expensive for anyone to try twice. A communication alert sounded in the lab. Whiskers appeared on the screen, calling from the research station's bridge. Dr. Zephyra, he said, his fur rippling with excitement. We are receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. They want to establish formal diplomatic relations with humanity. Chun raised an eyebrow. That was faster than we expected. What does this mean? Zephyra asked. It means the galaxy has accepted that humans are not going away, Chun replied. Now we have to figure out how to live together. The next few hours were filled with meetings and discussions. Representatives from dozens of species arrived at Haven Station. Some came to negotiate trade deals. Others came to ask for military protection. A few came to study human technology and culture. Dr. Zephyra found herself serving as a translator between human and galactic thinking. She had spent weeks learning how humans approached problems, and now she was helping other species understand. The key thing to remember, she told a group of diplomats, is that humans do not think like us. When we see a problem, we look for existing solutions. When humans see a problem, they create new solutions. One of the diplomats, a tall insect-like creature, asked, are they really as dangerous as the stories say? Zephyra thought about the question carefully. They are more dangerous than the stories say. But they are also more honorable than the stories say. Humans will not attack you for being weak, but they will destroy you completely if you threaten their people. Meanwhile, Commander Chun was meeting with human leaders from across the galaxy. Zephyra learned that there were human settlements on dozens of worlds that the galactic community had never discovered. They had been living quietly in the dark spaces between civilized systems, building their own civilization, while everyone else thought they were extinct. How many humans are there? Zephyra asked Chun during one of their conversations. More than you might expect, Chun replied. Less than would make the galaxy comfortable. As the weeks passed, a new reality began to emerge. Trade routes were established between human settlements and alien worlds. Human technology began to appear in galactic markets, solving problems that had been considered impossible for centuries. But the most important change was psychological. The galaxy had learned that there were beings out there who thought differently, and solved problems differently than anyone else. Species that had been enemies for generations began working together, united by their shared concern about human capabilities. Other species that had never considered military cooperation began forming alliances. Just in case. Dr. Zafara watched all of this happen from her unique position as one of the first aliens to study humans closely. She realized that the galaxy would never be the same. One day, as she was preparing to return to her home world, Commander Chun gave her a gift. It was a small device that contained all of humanity's public scientific knowledge. "Why are you giving this to me?" Zafara asked. "Because knowledge should be shared," Chun replied. "Humans believe that a galaxy where everyone is smarter and stronger is a galaxy where everyone is safer." "Even your potential enemies?" Chun smiled. "Dr. Zafara, humans learned a long time ago that the best way to avoid having enemies is to make sure everyone has too much to lose by fighting." As the Veltar research station prepared to leave Haven Station, Zafara looked back at the human facility. She knew she would return someday. There was still so much to learn, but more importantly, she knew that the galaxy had learned something crucial. Sending an SOS to Earth did not just bring rescue, it brought consequences. It brought change, and it brought the understanding that sometimes the most dangerous predators in the universe were also the most reliable protectors. The age of humanity had begun again, and this time the galaxy was watching.